So, Sairi, thank you so much for agreeing to join this fireside chat on the mix that matters. And I know it's a topic of great personal interest to you and your firm. And both Google and Shiro's also partner on trying to make course corrections and solving for the mix that matters in the Indian entrepreneurial ecosystem. Very, very warm welcome to all our audience who are here on this fireside chat with us. So, a lot of research and anecdotal evidence shows that women founders in India do not have equitable access to capital, resources, and networking. What are your thoughts? You've had a stellar and long journey. You're also an investor now. So, what are your thoughts basis your own personal experience?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for inviting me. And of course, like you said, this is very close to my heart. So I'm happy to be here. And like you said, I think the reason we are all here is that the stakes are not equal yet, and I think uh, it's a complex issue. And while it may, seem a very simplistic, at the heart of it, but it's not a simplistic issue. I think when it comes to women founders, obviously the the gap doesn't start at the founder stage. The gap starts much earlier. It starts at I think in schools and colleges and STEM, in what we call institutions. And very simply put, I think if the source of capital is not gender equal, then the distribution of capital is also not going to be gender equal. I think that's a given. Having said that, interestingly, uh, I mean, let me, for the sake of this conversation, say that both India, which is a developing ecosystem, or rather, now fairly developed, and US, which is a much older ecosystem, are very similar in this context. So it may seem like that this is a very India problem, but it's also a global trend. I think women's access to capital, and obviously for this reference, for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to stick to venture capital and investable capital, and I'm not going to go down into other forms of capital and other personas. But less than 2% of all venture capital goes to women, globally. And of course, 4 or 5 years ago, we saw a lot of uproar about it. So I think for the first time in our lives, we are seeing women only funds. We are seeing LPs saying, hey, let's be more gender equal in who we fund. And we are seeing this whole ESG movement come to say, hey, let's build a world we want to live in. But at the same time, I think just the constitution of our investing vehicles, most VC firms don't have women partners, and I think that just makes it that just makes the wall a little higher for women founders to get in. A lot of women founders may not come looking like the 24-year-old from IIT. That also becomes another wall. And of course, the more layers you add small town India, you add women who are older. Every layer sort of increases the distance between investments and women founders. And I think the idea is to uh, take a more conviction based approach. So, for example, when I invest, I definitely look for women founders who come from small town India. So my investments are in Gorakhpur and Trichipalli and like elsewhere. So not your traditional Bangalore investments. So I think there are what looks like a problem is also an opportunity. Because we all know that entrepreneurship is the only way for us to create a large amount of generational wealth and large amount of value, given where we are. And we can't do it without women being an equal stakeholder, both on the investment side, but also on the venture side. So simplistic answer is more women as LPs and more women as GPs and more women as founders.
Thank you, Sari. I love what you said that let's see this as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And with more than 50% of the global workforce actually being women, I think it's a massive opportunity. And
Absolutely.
rather than seeing it as a social cause, we should all see it as an opportunity and really, really unleash our entrepreneurial energy to solve for it and benefit from it.
Yeah.
I had a related question, Sairi, on this. What do you think the startup and tech ecosystem can and should do significantly to improve the gender balance in tech entrepreneurship? And what are some of the things you and Shiroz are doing to contribute to it?
Absolutely. So I think some things are very simple. Every time you see a large manner, please call it out. Like, please call out when you see no representation of women, either in leadership or in public representation. And second is, put your money where your mouth is. I think uh, it's slowly happening in pockets. Uh, Even large venture firms are saying, hey, we care about this, we're going to do something about this. Maybe we need to care a little more about it, and maybe we need to sort of think about it in a long term horizon, and say, if we do this right, it's going to only uh, build more diverse companies for us. It's also going to de-risk us. So thinking about this from an investment point of view is a very important opportunity. And I think that's one way to think about it. And second is, of course, I think uh, just a lot more focus on creating vehicles of investment, so whether it is sectoral focus. For example, the D2C piece has become so women driven. We have a D2C business, and we see 70% of founders are women. Or supporting products and services that might have a ripple effect. So sectors like healthcare, education, entrepreneurship, access to capital, these are all sectors with massive ripple effect. And I think, and they their payback is good for everyone. It's good for the balance sheet, and it's good for all stakeholders. So I think, as a tech ecosystem, it's important to think about win-win-win models. Historically, and I think we're very influenced by the US, so historically we've always been enamored by the winner takes all, and it's good to have a winner takes all occasionally, but it's also interesting to challenge that assumption and say it could be a win-win-win. And I think we are seeing in companies women are building, whether it's a Bumble or Nika, we are seeing how that's impacting the ecosystem. And I think it's an absolutely good trend for us to double click
Thank you so much, Sairi. And
on.
so,
Yeah, before we go any further, I actually want to ask you, I know that this is something, and obviously I know from experience of having partnered with Google on multiple occasions. I, and now you're working with the rest of the ecosystem. How does Google take a view of this from supporting entrepreneurs? And I'm sure your lens is very very different from a very very ecosystem lens. And Google's always taken a ecosystem view of things. So how are you guys looking at this?
so thank you for asking that, Sairi. So Google is committed to supporting women entrepreneurs of all types with its programs, products, and partnerships. And I'm using the word woman entrepreneur and not a woman founder because we would like to take a far bigger lens. We don't want to restrict it to IIM kind of founders, tier one cities, thinking and solving in English. It could be a micro entrepreneur in a small village in India. It could be a woman founder, a woman leadership team in a small town, and it could of course be metros and many metros. So let me first talk about the programs. So for the tech first women entrepreneurs, we are launching two programs to support them in their early stages. We've always had a very popular program called the GFS Google for Startups Accelerator. And this is our flagship program for early stage startups. This year, delighted to announce that we are launching a woman first, woman only edition of the accelerator in order to curate a program that only focuses on challenges specific to women founders, in addition to all the goodness Google Accelerator traditionally offers, like cloud credits, play support, mentoring sessions. More details are going to be announced soon. And we hope to support at least 40 to 50 amazing women founders and their teams as we go through the year. Now, the accelerator is typically focused on startups that are between pre seed A to Series A. But we also want to support founders and women founders right from the day they even start to think about creating a startup. They could be getting back to work, they could be quitting jobs to do a startup, and they could be straight out of college thinking about a startup. Uh, and we will be soon launching something called a startup clinic, for women led startups who want to work on early stage or MVP level ideas. Just this year, we want to impact about 500 women founders through this. So, very excited about it.
Wow.
Now, if you think about the bottom of the pyramid, and not literally bottom of pyramid, but in terms of growth stages, we also want to work on empowering grassroots level women entrepreneurs and micro entrepreneurs through our program called Women Well program. You are of course aware of it because we are partnering very closely with Shiros to bring this to life. This is really a successor of the Internet Sati program, where we enabled internet access for 30 million rural women in India for the first time through our Internet Satis. We noticed that a lot of these women use the internet to learn something and create economic opportunities for them, their communities, and families. This is why, along with Shiros, we are very committed to training 1 million plus women on business literacy and digital tools, and also providing advanced training for them to start their program. And I wanted to thank you and all the good people at Shiros for being amazing partners for us. Now, can programs do everything and can Google do everything? We realize that the problem or the opportunity is too big for Google to solve on its own. So we want to take a partnerships approach towards it. And this gap can only be bridged if the entire ecosystem, so big tech, founders like you, VCs, everybody comes together and commits to bringing equity to the startup ecosystem. We are currently working on and building unique partnerships to solve for this with VCs, industry bodies, government bodies. Um, it's going very well, and we soon hope to do some announcements around it. And finally, I think a lesser known fact is solving for it at a product level. So we want to use our product to support the amazing women entrepreneurs who list their product on our platform. So today they can easily create a woman owned attribute on the search and maps profile, so that any user who wants to support and buy from woman owned business can easily find it on Google. And I would love for more and more women founders to use this feature.
Oh, that's awesome. That's absolutely fantastic, and of course, very grateful. I think that you guys are thinking like this. At heart, I've always felt taking an ecosystem approach is important and thinking about different stakeholders. And of course, I think the Women Will program is super close to my heart. It's really game changing because it's entrepreneurship at scale. Impacting 1 million. If you can do this for 1 million women, it can run for 100 million women. And I think that's the horizon that we are possibly sitting on. So super excited about the whole piece. And of course, I think at Shiros we've always thought an ecosystem. So today the way our ecosystem operates is exactly, let's build a giant community where anybody with even a tint of entrepreneurial ambition is able to come in, find the right kind of support, is able to go to market, is able to get access to credit or capital, and of course has a community rooting for them, cheering for them at all times. And I think that if there's one thing we've learned from Silicon Valley, that you need a community rooting for you at all times. So fabulous to hear about this.
So, one important point which Sairi you raised is it will take a whole ecosystem to solve for this. If you were to give a single piece of advice to ecosystem participants, it could be government, it could be VCs, it could be accelerator and incubators, and it could be founders and big tech, uh, which will enable them to be better allies to women founders and entrepreneurs. What would your advice be?
I think my advice is very simple, that we have to be very cognizant at all times. I think this is not an agenda when it's convenient to us or only when we have, you know, time and space. I think we have to embed it into our lives in everything we do, whether we are raising funds or we are looking at investment opportunities or we are writing policy. I think we have to make sure it is centrally embedded in everything that we're building. And that's when it uh, becomes sustainable. We can't do this if it's not part of our life. It's not part of how we think about it. So as simple as call out when there's no representation of women on a leadership team or on a panel, but also think about it when taking large decisions like setting the next $1 billion fund.
Great. Very useful. Now, I also believe that there is a lot which women founders and women VCs can do by themselves, right? So, and women are go getters. So, what would be your advice to women founders to make it easier for themselves and for other women? What can they do?
Well, I think when I look back at my own journey, and if I was to change anything, I would say I would be more aggressive. I would be more ambitious in my own going out there. And I think um, there's a Marianne Williamson quote, right, which says uh, when you shine with your own light, you make it easy for other people to shine. I think going out and building the companies that you want to build, or taking the risks that you want to take, but maybe there's something stopping you. So I would say go out and chase your dreams. And of course, today we are sitting possibly in the best time the ecosystem has seen. There's more capital. There's just a lot of partners out there. And of course, I think some of us are more privileged. We've been there. We've seen life cycles of businesses. So paid forward, I think, like with Shiro's Capital now, the little investments we are making, it's literally our paid forward to say, hey, let's make sure we talk to at least a couple of hundred entrepreneurs, and we support a percentage of them. And that's how you build an ecosystem, literally one company at a time. And keeping the conversation going as women founders. There is a little bit of what I call the burden of making sure that other people succeed. And I think it is it's also an opportunity. It's a privilege to be able to pay it forward. It's a privilege to be able to be a role model to other people. You don't know who you're inspiring today. So every time a woman founder out there goes, builds a milestone, raises a milestone. I mean, we're all super pumped about Nika going IPO. That means that there are at least 2 dozen women, who are literally backing up their IPOs as we speak, and we're going to see some of them go live in the next couple of quarters, couple of years. So there is a ripple effect to the goodness as well. So
True.
let me ask you this, Apurva. I think this is something we totally believe in at Heroes, that only way to scale uh, uh, ecosystems and to solve hard hitting problems is technology. I mean, as somebody who works in the women's space, we know that there are a lot of people who've done really awesome work. Their work is iconic, but because there is no technology, we know that uh, it doesn't scale. And I know Google applies the same principle at the heart of it when you're solving. So I want to hear about how do you think about technology in a context like this, and obviously you have know-how from all parts of the world.
Sure. So let me, it's an amazing question on how do you use technology to create scale uh, and impact at scale. So I'll give you a very specific India anecdote, case study, example, if I may call it. In early 2015, uh, we discovered that only 1 out of 10 internet users in rural India was a woman. So we came together with Tata Trust to help accelerate the penetration of internet within the rural female population through our Internet Sathi program, which was aimed at helping rural women bridge the internet divide. By 2021, 4 out of 10 internet users in rural India was a woman. In total, 30 million women had learned how to use the internet through the Internet Sathi program. However, this was not a aha moment for us. Our aha moment was the discovery that we made during this journey. We realized that there is a common trait across India, across our rural hinterland, that the women are very, very enterprising and they want to create positive change. One such story which really excites us and excites me personally was uh, the journey, the growth journey, the digital divide bridging journey of Padmavati Sivalanka. Padmavati watched YouTube videos to learn how to grow lemongrass in her hometown when no one had even heard of lemongrass. the produce from our farm is now used across many products across India. This is such a powerful story which shows what happens when the women of India get access to resources and opportunities using technology and internet. uh, I think we have a great opportunity to replicate the same scale, same impact, if not more, using the Women Well program. Uh, and how do we go from enabling digital literacy to actually enabling digital based economic opportunities? I know, Sairi, you personally have had the opportunity to see tremendous impact through this initiative at a much closer level than me. And you personally realize the power of access to internet and digital tools. And I'm hoping Mahila Money is going to be another great initiative which will allow you and your team to create grassroots impact.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when I hear you speak, it's almost like my pitch. That's my pitch. Also, I count it as one of the biggest privileges and honors of my life to be able to see this change go live. Every day when we talk to women from all across the country, and I think thanks to uh, growth of mobile phones, initiatives like the Internet Sati program, we've literally followed the program ever since it started. I think some of these journeys are parallel with Shiro's journey. And what we realize is that aspiration is common to all women. It doesn't matter what district they come from, what village they come from, and all they want is they want more social capital, more financial capital, more success. And I think that's another interesting democratization of ambition that has happened. It doesn't matter where you come from, you can have an equal playing field, and you can have access to some of the best resources to grow and learn. And of course, with the Women Will program, we're excited to see it play out. It's hugely gratifying to see women build their lives. And I think what it's also doing is it's fundamentally changing the DNA of India, because large number of women who will become entrepreneurs, who are entrepreneurs, are growing. What they in turn doing is they're creating generational wealth, but they're also creating employment opportunities. So I think our work is quite cut out, and of course, we take a long-term horizon of things. So very excited about this.
Thank you, Sairi. We look forward to long and successful partnership with Chiro's, Maila Money, and you personally. Uh, let's just go all out, encourage, enthuse, empower everybody in the ecosystem to solve for the mix that matters. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.